Hi, so my name is Kwadwo Agyarko. I am Ghanaian. I was born in Norway, raised in Ghana, but I currently live and work in the UK. My background is in electrical engineering and energy transition
Mhm.
systems, and I currently work as a program manager at Baker Hughes, um, where I essentially manage the delivery of operational and developmental projects for a global clientele. Outside of work, I'm often traveling, exploring new places,
Mhm.
creating new recipes, or just simply like building products with my friends.
That's very nice. Thank you very much. And why initially did you decide to study electrical engineering?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one, because I can't say for sure that I definitely wanted to study electrical engineering.
Mhm.
Moving from secondary school into uni, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew that, I enjoyed applying
Mhm.
scientific principles to practical solutions. I also enjoyed things like design, and I also enjoyed problem solving. And
Okay.
so engineering was like the lowest hanging fruit,
Mhm.
and electrical engineering specifically because it's one of the most popular types of engineering. However, halfway through it, I realized I didn't exactly enjoy it, and so I started to look into
Mhm.
areas to pivot into. And energy stood out to me
Mhm.
because of the wide range of opportunities that exist within the sector. And because energy is also a way or it was a way for me to really scale up my impact,
Mhm.
because that is what drives everything that I do,
Yeah.
right? And so I ended up moving from electrical engineering into energy transition systems to be able to make the kind of impact I wanted to on a global scale, and to also tap into different aspects of knowledge
Mhm.
in problems.
That's very interesting. Thank you. And what are some of your favorite memories from Aberdeen?
Well, I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be. Well, I did enjoy all my classes. My
Mhm.
professors were really, really great.
Yeah.
Especially Prof. Alf Martinez Felipe
Mhm.
at the School of Engineering. A really great professor. I enjoyed my time in the library with my friends,
Mhm.
getting ready for exams. There used to be a spot just up the road, Elphinstone Road, I think, Shakes and
Mhm.
Cakes. I
Yes,
spent
yes,
every
it's
single
still
Friday
there.
night over there. So that was really good to do as well. And just like cycling through the city, long beach walks on Saturday mornings to clear my mind, set my intentions for the coming week, and just having a good time, really.
Yeah, interesting. And during your internship at GIZ Ghana, you work on renewable energy projects. What key lessons did you take from that experience?
Yeah, yeah. So, between my undergrad program and my graduate program, I worked for a year at the GS at Ghana, which is essentially a development project office that
Mm,
implements renewable energy projects. That's specifically where I worked, in many different countries with funding from the German government. And so I worked in the sustainable energy and climate cluster on projects that essentially were to help the government of Ghana at the time
mm,
invest and scale up its investment in renewable energy in public buildings with the aim to reduce overall energy consumption. In terms of lessons that I specifically drew from this experience, I think the most important one was that I did enjoy, like I mentioned earlier, being in a project management space where, there's a scope of work to do, there's a schedule to follow, and there's a budget that's been allocated, there are stakeholders that have been defined,
mm.
and everyone comes together, brings their different perspectives together to work towards a common goal. I really enjoyed that. I think that was the first lesson I derived from that experience. I also enjoyed seeing the direct impact of my work because a lot of it was very community based. A lot of it was driven by stakeholder engagement. And so by speaking to the people who would be the direct beneficiaries of the work I was doing, I was able to also shape my own understanding of the world of energy. And so that was also very useful to learn as well. And I think lastly, I also I also realized how energy was very collaborative. And that has also shaped my own philosophy of how I approach my life and work. It takes a community to make something work.
Yeah.
And with that philosophy moving into my master's program and even now into my work as a program manager, I see every day how everything is underpinned by collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting and very impressive. And what are some key milestones that led you to your current role as a lead program specialist at Baker Hughes?
Yeah, so you're asking about key milestones that have led me to this point,
Yes, yes.
clearly. Yeah, so like I said, I did my undergraduate degree between
Mm,
2016 and 2020. Then I got into a master's program after I left the GS at Ghana in 2021 and graduated in 2022 and started working with Baker Hughes in 2022 as well. In terms of educational milestones, I think that my degrees allowed me to really explore what was interesting to me and
mm,
what wasn't. And I think that a very important one was graduating from my master's program and entering the world of work with this systems level understanding about how everything in energy is interlinked and requires this interdisciplinary approach.
yeah.
That was very important for me to discover as well. Another thing is, or another key milestone really was transitioning from, the academic world into the world of work.
Hmm.
Especially that was particularly difficult for me because there are very different expectations in both areas, in academics and in the world of work, very different types of people to work with, and navigating that or learning how to navigate that was a really key milestone in essentially understanding my role in the work I was doing and how I could scale up the impacts that I wanted to make in my work.
Hmm.
So I think these are like two, three key things that helped me drive my work here, yeah.
Interesting. And so, what strategies do you use to drive operational efficiency and successful project execution at your job?
Yeah, yeah. So, in my role as lead program specialist or lead program manager,
Mhm.
I'm focused on driving operational excellence and the delivery of value through a combination of different things, through like proper planning, strong planning, through communication, through efficient or proactive risk identification and mitigation, right? So I think one of the very first strategies that I developed, which I still lean into, is the importance of open communication. Because my role is very cross-functional in that I work with different teams from sales and business development to finance and engineering and supply chain and logistics. And so ensuring that everyone is together and everyone understands the scope of work that needs to be
Mhm.
done and what exactly their role in delivering their own scope is really, really crucial
Mhm.
because you can't really do what you do not understand. And
Yeah.
so long as there are open channels for communication, work is always going to be done and going to be done well,
Mhm.
right? Another thing is, another thing is how to create my own individual filter.
Mhm.
Like I said, open communication is good, but then everyone brings very different perspectives on how a decision can be approached.
Yeah.
And a big part of my role as program manager is having that filter that allows me to figure out what is important to decision making in that moment
Mhm.
and what is important but not important to that particular decision that needs to be made in that moment.
Mhm.
And so being able to navigate this balance and step in and make a decision based on available information is something else that has also helped me really grow in my role and be able to focus on impact and the delivery of value rather than just pursuing alternatives for the sake of just
Mhm.
pursuing them. You know?
That's very interesting. And energy transition is a rapidly evolving field. What trends do you see shaping the industry, particularly in technology-driven solutions?
Well, I mean, AI is all the rave right now, isn't it? I do think the energy sector is undergoing like a really big shift towards digital transformation, and that there are so many digital tools now that are empowering or facilitating this transition, right? Which is a good thing
Hmm.
because when we leverage a lot of these digital tools, we are able to optimize energy production, distribution, storage. We are able to make energy more accessible, more efficient, and sustainable as well. Digital transformation also even opens up more opportunities in terms of what kind of work we can do.
Hmm.
If you think about things like advanced grid management to preventative maintenance, all of these things help us to maintain a very flexible energy infrastructure that is also as reliable. And so, from a program management perspective, because this is the work that I do,
Yeah.
digital transformation helps us to, or helps me to, for example, analyze data more effectively,
Hmm.
make the customer experience more seamless, and to also make decisions in a more structured, organized way that again prioritizes value over anything else.
Hmm.
A good example is how is the fact let me rephrase it this way. I'd
Hmm.
use Microsoft Power Platform as an example.
Hmm.
In my work, because I have to stay on top of issues,
Yeah.
um, and know everything literally at all times in order to make informed decisions. I have created, for example, a number of Power Automate workflows
Hmm.
that help to do everything, ranging from organizing my file structure and folder structure to prompting me to make certain decisions when I need to make them, to creating dashboards that enable me to understand how projects are progressing, how resources are loaded, how to level resources, all those things in project management that previously would have been done through a very manual, painstaking process. And so I think that digital transformation in particular is really key to changing the way we work in
Hmm.
energy. And of course, requires continuous investment, of course, but also curiosity in understanding what exact role it plays and how we can leverage it to, drive the energy transition forward.
Interesting. And do you see any challenges in integrating new technologies within traditional energy systems?
Yeah, yeah. I think so. I think that, when it comes to integrating these new technologies in traditional energy systems, most of the energy models that we have in the world today are built on legacy infrastructure.
Hmm.
And so there is a direct conflict already in that you've got this new age stuff, new perspectives,
Hmm.
new ways of working, new ways of improving value delivery that you want to merge with legacy systems and old ways of working.
Yeah.
And so, because there's that inherent incompatibility, the first challenge really is identifying how to leverage it, where
Hmm.
to leverage it, and how to scale it in such a way that it does not disrupt normal operations. You can think about things like also cost, the cost of accommodating new technologies and some of
Hmm.
these legacy systems, and the resistance in incorporating them as well.
Yeah.
Because if you think of something that has worked very well and delivered value for 20 years,
Hmm.
mm, there's the tendency to not want to change that
Yeah.
way of doing things just for the
Hmm.
sake of changing it. So a big part of that is also understanding what exactly needs to change. Another challenge would be the regulatory environment. Like I said, because a lot of the energy sector is or has been built on legacy infrastructure, or our energy infrastructure is essentially quite traditional.
Hmm.
I mean, terms of what kinds of models are used. A lot of the regulations that exist are or were designed with this traditional infrastructure in mind.
Hmm.
And so, in order to incentivize the acceleration of newer, more streamlined workflows. I think then another challenge that needs to be considered is how exactly we can make energy regulations more flexible, more adapted to digital tools and newer ways of working, and how we can efficiently measure their impact and scale it up.
Interesting. And do you have any advice for students who are aspiring to work in similar career field as you? Maybe some books, maybe some podcasts that you would recommend.
Um, yeah, even before books and podcasts, I think that the most important thing really is understanding what you want to get out of a career in program
Mm,
management in the energy sector. Because the way program management works, is that you don't do a lot of the technical work.
hmm.
Like you are not the engineer who designs the tools or
Yeah.
who tests stuff or goes offshore to install stuff. A lot of your work is understanding how the engineer would do their work
Hmm.
and being able to see how you can help them do their work better.
Yeah.
You can help them be more efficient, using available resources, and ensure that they are delivering a high level of value that a client is going to be
Hmm.
satisfied with.
Yeah.
So I think that if you know what you want to get out of it, in that you know that you are not looking for something that is deeply technical, but technical enough for you to make decisions with and deliver value, that's already a good place to start from, because that is what program management is all about. In terms of resources to support, there are a couple of certifications that have been very useful to me. For example, I am Lean Six Sigma certified, and that is
Hmm.
very useful for understanding how to approach problem solving. In particular, I'm also currently getting my project management certification, and it's a good opportunity for me now because I'm able to directly take lessons that I'm um, learning in the classroom and apply them to
Hmm.
work that I am doing. There are also like a number of podcasts. I particularly enjoy Energy Talks, which gives you a very broad overview of the direction of the energy industry, and it helps you also shape your knowledge or perspectives on how you can navigate that and the different types of opportunities that are accessible to you. But I think above everything else, it's important to seek positions that will allow you to learn from great leaders,
Hmm.
and focus on learning,
Yeah.
especially if you're a newbie in the industry. I just focus on learning as much as you can, almost like be a sponge, soak
Mhm.
everything up, and focus on how you can apply that to building a solid track record that would
Mhm.
speak for you sometime in the future.
Yeah. That's very good advice. Thank you. And the last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Uh, that's that's a good one. I think there's like so many things I could say, right? But I think one key thing that I would tell my younger self is to never stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you approach life from a very curious place, it
Mm-hmm.
opens you up to things that you didn't even know you were capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And even more so allows you to tap into different interests, different experiences that help you craft like an identity capital. So focus on curiosity to build an identity capital that would shape the way you interact with others and navigate the world of work. And to also relax,
Mm-hmm.
because um, I tend to want to do everything at once and be on top of things all the
Yeah.
time, but that can often prevent you from also really being in the moment and experiencing things for what they are because you're
Yeah.
so focused on an end goal. So try to relax, be in the moment, take all the lessons you can from it, and see how you can apply that to your life and career moving forward.